Hey guys, Tapas here. Coming up on my birthday pretty soon, and I'm reminded of a quote by Marcus Aurelius. He says, "You could leave life right now and let that determine what you do, say, and think." One of my favorite authors actually is Ryan Holiday, and he tells us we know what we should do, we're just too afraid to do it. Holiday published this book in 2021 called Courage is Calling, and it has shaped my life drastically. So next week, I urge you guys to tune into our Eat, Read, Sleep YouTube channel, where both Cal and I will be revealing how we quit our six-figure corporate jobs to follow our passions and our purpose in life. We found our courage and put it into service on something that's greater than ourselves. Our mission at Eat, Read, Sleep is to spread knowledge from books and help others find their peace and their true authentic selves. So it's fitting today that we take a look at the book summary for a book that started off for me, Courage is Calling.
Hey T.
Hey.
All right, I've got everything set up and ready to go. Ready to shoot?
Yep.
Do you want to get in the wardrobe?
Oh yeah. Hang on one second. All right, it's better. Let's do this.
Impressive. All right, hi y'all. It's time to eat, read, sleep. I'm Kalina, and today we are going to be vibing with Ryan Holiday and his book, Courage is Calling.
That's right, guys. Ryan Holiday is a Stoic that's written 12 books about Stoic philosophy, including meditation journal that I personally use every single day. So whether you're a leader or an entrepreneur or a parent, or even just somebody who has a little voice in your head telling you there's more to life than this book is for you. Leading yourself with courage and determination against the grain will forge you into a better, stronger, and more true version of yourself.
The version that you are meant to be and the inspiration to the world that you are meant to provide. From Leo Tolstoy, there is no deed in this life so impossible that you cannot do it. Your whole life should be lived as a heroic deed.
So, what is courage? Courage is one of the 4 Stoic virtues, or cardinal virtues as Marcus Aurelius defines it for us. These virtues make up the touchstones of goodness. And whether you're talking about the physical courage or moral courage, it's really all the same. Courage is bravery, fortitude, honor, and sacrifice. Courage is risk and putting yourself on the line. It's when you do the thing that others cannot or will not do. Sometimes it means defying societal rules, norms, and opinions. But fortunately, courage is renewable in each of us everywhere. And we are capable of it at a moment's notice.
There's nothing we prize more than courage, yet nothing is in shorter supply. Why? Courage is limited because we're afraid. We think that it's easier to not get involved. We make excuses that now is not a good time. We tend to stick with what's safe. Winston Churchill once said, "To each there comes a time in their lifetime, a special moment when they are figuratively tapped on the shoulder and offered the chance to do a very special thing, unique to them and fitted to their talents. What a tragedy if that moment finds them unprepared or unqualified for that which could have been their finest hour." Courage calls each of us at different times in different forms, and it's our responsibility to answer the call. This book walks us through how to rise above our fear and cowardice, how to face our bravery over the elements, over the odds, over our limitations, and finally, how to enter into heroism. Perhaps for only a single magnificent moment that makes all the difference in the world.
In the first part of the book, Holiday gives us the example of Florence Nightingale. For 16 years, she ignored this call that comes from God, from her inner spirit, telling her to be of service. She comes from a rich family that has certain expectations of her. She rejects this call to courage, to greatness that burns within her. Finally, after 16 years, the call nudges her one last time. Are you going to let what other people think of you, let other people deter you from your call to service? Florence braves her fear and goes into nursing and becomes a great hero by saving hundreds of thousands of lives and revolutionizes nursing. She went on to support the foundation of the British Red Cross in 1870, which today is helping people across the UK under the current infection that hit our world since 2019.
Imagine if Florence did not have the courage to stand up to her parents and to her social expectations. Imagine if she listened to her fear. Fear is the enemy of courage. Fear holds us back. It freezes us and gives us a million reasons why not. It keeps us from our destiny, just as it did for Florence Nightingale for 16 years. And fear, it's within all of us. This is not to be confused with being scared, though. Being scared, it can't be helped. It's a temporary rush of feeling, and that's forgiving. But fear is a state of being, and to allow fear to rule is a disgrace. Our fears or our phobias, they can come in many forms. It can be extreme intensity, or it can just be irrational magnifications. Most of the time when you get up close, you'll generally find that things aren't as bad as you expected. It's the unknown, the what ifs, that we allow to haunt us.
But do not be afraid. In all of history, scrolls, scriptures, and stories, do not be afraid is the most common saying. We all have to get over this fear to do what we need to do, because everything we need in life is on the other side of fear. The Greek philosophers teach us many lessons that we must heed. Defeat fear with logic and familiarity. Don't be deterred by difficulties and focus on the fact that difficult things will happen to you. Focus on what's in front of you and don't worry about the things in your imagination yet to happen. Go through life with the belief that you have the ability to change your situation. If you don't believe it, it will likely never happen. Never let intimidation allow you to compromise your belief. And never fear making decisions. Don't lose your momentum, or your ability to look yourself in the mirror.
Use fear to your advantage. It's showing us something. And most of the time, it's showing us that we should do the exact opposite of what we fear. And one of those things that we fear, one of the scariest things of all, is to be ourselves. Do not let the opinion of cowards influence what you think or what you do. Get used to the fact that life happens in public and that everyone has a judgment. Don't be afraid to ask for help and rise above it all. And think on this. It has been pondered that the world should not be divided into good and bad people, but into cowards and non-cowards. 95% of cowards are capable of the evilest things, lethal things, at the mildest threat. Even Gandhi, not that one, a man of incredible gentleness and restraint, knew that there was a line that must sometimes be crossed. Where there is only a choice between cowardice and violence, I would advise violence. The world is asking us about our courage, so answer not with words, but with your actions. And ask yourself this: what would it look like if I had complete control of my fear?
Why you would have courage. The second part of the book goes into what it looks like once you get over your fear. Once you put yourself out there, you've broken through and you did that scary thing. You're brave and you're courageous. Remember that every great thing was scary at first. It's like the idea of beating the odds. That means that if everyone listened to the odds, we'd never have any progress. It's a quote from George Bernard Shaw. All progress depends on the unreasonable man. The reasonable person bends to the odds and doubts, whereas the unreasonable person says, I'm going to try, I'm going to push through, and I believe I can do it.
Imagine if Charles de Gaulle listened to the odds and didn't listen to his call to courage. De Gaulle was a general and undersecretary of the defense in France. He wasn't an elected leader, he didn't have royal blood, he was a citizen that believed France could overcome its fall when Germany had seized in 1940. De Gaulle put his life on the line, flying to England to meet Churchill and to speak on the BBC. He was a target of 30 assassination attempts, and he alone saved France by demanding the duty of France to resist the fear instilled by Hitler.
That's the thing about courage. Just like fear, courage is contagious. De Gaulle rallied not just France, but the whole world behind him. After 4 years in 1944, more than 2 million Allied troops landed in France. In August, Paris was liberated. Courage may call us to stand alone against adversity, alone against the world even. But we're reminded again not to be afraid. Because when we take a stand, when we are courageous, we are actually never alone. Fight hard and long enough, we will find everyone is with us.
I have a question. If not you, then who? Each of us has our own skills, our own set of experiences and insights. We each receive our call. If you don't answer it, then we deprive the world of something. Our failure of courage ripples beyond us into the lives of other people. Believe that a single person can make a difference. Then believe that you can be that person.
Once you have courage, there are things you need to do. You need to prepare. Whether you call it practice or training or know-how, preparation is what makes you brave. But be kind to yourself and remember that you don't have to do it all. You don't have to do everything all at once. All you need is to go and move forward one step at a time. Your headlights illuminate just a few feet of the dark road in front of you, and yet there's enough for you to move forward and make continual progress. Speak the truth and challenge the status quo. Make courage a habit by challenging yourself to do something new every day. Follow your own code and fight for what's right. And remember that fortune favors the bold. Fortune favors the brave.
After you have committed to courage and have followed through, remember the world relies on you to be the light. Bring courage to your neighbors, and then bring your courage to another level for your neighbors. Look at not just your own benefit, but put yourself out there for the benefit of someone else, of something else, of something far greater. This, my friend, is heroism, the third and final part of the book.
So this is the highest level beyond courage. It's about selflessness. It's the 300 Spartans led by Leonidas that, against the worst odds in history of warfare, held off the enormous Persian army off the Bay of Greece. Their statement, if they could make a strong stand, perhaps Greece could be inspired to fight on. This idea of valor, not just a courage, but a commitment to something larger than themselves, was what convinced the Greeks that this mission was even worth attempting. Now, you might argue, didn't every one of those Spartans die? Well, no one's saying that courage promises success. But courage does allow you to live your life to the fullest while you're alive. And although the Spartans did die, they held off the Persians for a week. It cost the Persians men and time that they didn't have, and it shook the confidence of Xerxes, the ruler of the Persian Empire. No one could deny that the Spartans followed the call to do their part. None of them survived, yet they turned out to be far more immortal than the Persian troops that they killed. The Spartans became more than men. They became almost like gods.
Earlier we talked about the fear that gets in the way of our courage. The opposite of fear is actually love. Love for one another, love for ideas, love for the next generation, love for all. It is the marrow-deep love that allows us to rise above the logic of self-preservation and achieve true greatness. Shielding someone from a bullet, risking your job to speak out in defense of the common good, or fighting for a cause you know is right. In fact, the root of the word courage means heart. What we're willing to give for, the love of others. That's what takes us higher and transforms us from brave to heroic.
In heroism, we need to remember some things. The courage that led us here is dependent on good. The difference between hollow, pointless courage and the heroic lies in the who. Who was it for? Was it truly selfless? Was it for the greater good? So the braver thing to do is not to fight when unnecessary. Avoid petty fights so you can be ready for the ones that matter. Few leaders are ever perfectly in sync with their time. They're usually ahead of them, which means people won't understand them, won't support them, won't even follow them. All leaders must go through alienation and isolation and never give up hope. Jackie Robinson once said, "A life is meaningless except for its impact on others' lives." So make people better, make people bigger. Remember that our duty is never to be just the best versions of ourselves, but to try to help others realize their best, even if this effort comes at our own expense. The remainder of heroism goes through never hesitate, be fearless to inspire others. Silence is violence. To say nothing or do nothing can actually do more harm. And finally, always get back up, never accept defeat, and never lose hope.
So courage then is a three-part process. First, the battle with fear. Second, the call to be courageous. And lastly, the call to the transcendent level of heroism. In an ugly world, courage is beautiful. Let's all answer our calls and create a world in which courage is commonplace.
You're killing me, dude.
Is calling. Ryan, help.
Of it at a moment's notice.
I just had this flashback of that
reel we did where we were like, 趣味的大嘛